JProfiler has long included a built-in SSH client to simplify remote profiling. However, in complex environments, the built-in client could not always handle special connection requirements. For example, using a ProxyCommand or custom authentication plugins. With JProfiler 15, advanced SSH features solve these limitations, allowing you to connect to remote JVMs with zero configuration, even in challenging setups. In this screencast, we'll look at AWS Session Manager as a real-world example. On cloud machines, you often don't want to expose an SSH port to the internet, and instead rely entirely on the authentication mechanisms of the cloud provider. On AWS EC2 instances, the Session Manager agent is installed so you can proxy connections through the AWS infrastructure. When connecting from your local machine over SSH, the AWS CLI is needed to handle the TCP connection. Since JProfiler's built-in SSH client does not support such setups, JProfiler 15 introduces a mode that leverages your local OpenSSH installation. Let's try it out. First, we choose the OpenSSH mode. Unlike for the built-in client, only the host name is mandatory here. All other parameters can be resolved through the OpenSSH config file. In fact, the host name might be an alias that you have configured for easy access. These fully configured aliases can be selected directly here. All configuration from the config file like user, port, identity file, or proxy jumps will be used automatically for any specified host. In this case, we have a new configuration that we enter directly in JProfiler. We also need a username and optionally the port where the SSH server is listening. So far, this is the same as the built-in client. However, for the AWS Session Manager, we need a ProxyCommand option for the SSH client. The AWS CLI and the Session Manager plugin have to be installed for this to work. OpenSSH performs the variable substitution, and the AWS command starts a session with a specified host and port. Now we can close the wizard and connect to the EC2 instance. No configuration on the EC2 instance is required. Everything is done transparently by JProfiler via SSH. Typically, services are not running as the SSH login user, so getting an empty list of JVMs is expected. We need to switch to the actual user first. In our case, it's the root user, and our distribution uses sudo. Then we select the process that we want to profile. To avoid loading the profiling agent, there are low-impact data acquisition modes like taking an hprof heap dump or running a JFR recording. For deeper insights, JProfiler's full profiling mode is required. We confirm the profiling settings, and the profiling session is running. Pretty amazing, considering that we don't have SSH connectivity and we did not make any modifications on the remote machine. After detaching, we can attach again, because the last used SSH settings are persistent. But what if we have several machines that we connect to regularly? In that case, use regular session configurations. The session configuration dialog has the same attach types as the Quick Attach tab. It can also do unauthenticated TCP connections, so you have to change to SSH tunnel connections first. Many production servers have SSH port forwarding disabled. Port forwarding is used to establish a connection to the profiling agent. I have set up such a host machine to show you what happens and how to get around it. Listing the running JVMs works fine, but connecting to them will not work. JProfiler detects the condition that port forwarding might be disabled and advises using netcat mode. This is an option for both OpenSSH mode and the built-in SSH client. Let's find it in the settings. For zero config attached, JProfiler can multiplex the agent connection through the main SSH connection using a custom netcat executable that is part of JProfiler. You have to enable this explicitly because port forwarding is generally preferred for better performance and better error reporting. We try to connect again. And this time it works. For future profiling sessions, you can just start the saved session directly from the Start Center. That's it. With JProfiler 15, even complex SSH setups are no longer an obstacle for remote profiling. Cloud environments, restricted servers, and special connection requirements, JProfiler 15 handles them all with zero configuration.